across to the free dance section of the Ice Dancing Championships.
You should. Start again. Start. Irina Moiseeva and Andrei Minenkov of the Soviet Union lying in third position. Just about the longest running show in amateur ice skating. This is their 10th year of competition. Former European and world champions. Last year silver medalists, and now lying in the bronze medal position. Moiseeva was the instigator of the arms in ice dancing, and she's giving a pretty good example of them now. I remember the judges are looking at the feet in ice dancing. Although in latter years choreography plays a much greater part. Change, wasn't that? Beautiful step work. Well, that's very much an example of the Moiseeva-Minenkov style in ice dancing. Very expressive indeed. Lots of arm movements, and obviously a delight to this crowd here. And here are the best set of marks so far. 5/8, 5/7, and 1/5/6, and that is from the Austrian judge, who is Rudolf Zorn. But the 5/8 and 5/7, these are the marks that, of course, are challenging for the medals in this competition, and that's the sort of marks you've just got to get. That was for artistic impression. Well, there's two 5.9s there, 5/8, and there's a 5/6. Well, it's the 5/6 that's getting the boo, and that's from the Austrian judge. Mary Perry, the British judge, gave 5.9, and Mary, of course, was a European bronze medalist back in 1960. So the applause is for the set of marks for Irina Moiseeva and Andrei Minenkov, as we now see the next competitors, two younger Russians, the third Russian couple, in fact, Olga Volozhinskaya and Alexander Svinin. They were lying in fourth position. Very fast opening. If it's recognizable, they are trained by Elena Tchaikovskaya, who trained Denisov and Karponosov, who won the world and the European titles. Very similar style. Dancers are always looking for new ways to lift their partners, but of course big lift as in pair skating around. And there's one or two novel ones here, aren't there? They're only half a turn in the jump. Olga Volozhinskaya and Alexander Svinin, trained by Elena Tchaikovskaya. And I think that was a pretty good example of how ice dancing is changing with the lifts and the turns and the spins. Well, there's Elena with that well-known fur hat. tucked away down at the bottom of the picture there. And here are the marks. Well, 5.6s and 5.7s, fair enough. The Austrian gives 5.5, that's judge number 7. Judge number 8, the Hungarian, gives 5.4. Well, that is certainly below Moiseeva and Minenkov. Remember, they are the couple that moved Barber and Slater out of 4th place and into 5th place owing to the computer. And on that score, it's possible now that Karen and Nicky might be able to overtake them. It's the second set. He's rather better, except, of course, for the Hungarian judge, who's down there with 5.3. Hungarian judge is Sven Sugar, who was a nice dancer himself. And so the others, 5.7, 5.8s and 5.6s. Here are Karen and Nicky. First announced in 4th, then in 5th. And now with those marks, I think they have a chance of perhaps getting back again. Tempo allowed in the 4-minute program, and that was a smooth change. Precise the set. Barber, Nicky Slater. And that was a smooth, fast, and very interesting program. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how their marks compare with Volozhinskaya and Svinin. Originally trained in Altrincham by Nicky's mum, Jayne. They've more recently moved to Richmond and now train down there with Jimmy Young. They also have a choreographer, Jayne. And here's a sample of his work. Well, there's only 1-7 there, and there's 6s and 5s, and down to 4. So that first set of marks is not as good as Volozhinskaya and Svinin. Last year they finished 5th in Europe, and on the cards at the moment it looks as though it might be very much the same as the Russians got 3 8s and 4 7s, and there's a 7, a couple of 7s, a couple of 6s, and 3 6s and 5s. So no, they haven't beaten Volozhinskaya and Svinin. So I would think that it'll be 5th position. And as they take in those marks, the announcers still are calling them out in the building for the 4,200 people in this Patinoire. The next skaters who are the toughest threat to Jayne, Torvill and Torvill Dean take the ice. Lying in second place. Well, they look to be a little flatter at the beginning there. Seeing them start their program at Hartford, Connecticut in the 81 World Championship, and they move very, very fast. Well, the movements are very fast, they're very deliberate. sequence was very good indeed. Now they get back into that really top gear again. Well, the Russians get it all on there. Just that slight flutter, apparently, just at the beginning of the program. But for the rest of it, very fast, then a very good slow sequence, and then a very fast sequence to end again. The choreography very good. Tatiana Tarasova, who trains them at Trud in Moscow, the Trud Club in Moscow, is well known for her choreography. Well, they've had 2 years in the European competition, 6th in 1980, 4th in 1981, in the silver medal position at the moment. But, of course, we have to wait and see their marks, because if they should, by any chance, beat Torvill and Dean, they will have won the title. There's 1, 2, 3 5.9s, and the rest are 5.8. They will be tough to beat. Tatiana Tarasova, I remember her as a pair skater quite a few years ago now. She's certainly brought these two along very well over the last 2 years. Those are great marks. Her pair skating abilities, I think, help with some of these lifts, because they are quite novel and quite unique. And that, I think, is one of the main differences in the modern day ice dancing. Many more of these particular lifts and moves. Second set, and that's also very good again. 1, 2, 3 5.9s, 5.8s, and 1 5.7 from the Austrian judge. Now that's a pretty tough set of marks to beat. Torvill and Dean have got it all to do now. And now, this marvelous free dance. And already there's about 4,000 or 4,200 people clapping in time with the music. beautiful to watch. They couldn't have skated better than that. That's their program. And that's got the audience with them. Now we have to wait and see whether it's got the judges as well. Well, we've got roars of applause from the crowd. And as happened in the survival earlier, last autumn, and in the British Championship late in the year, they really captivated everyone. New types of lifts that mean so much, but the expression during the dance, and of course the steps, were marvelously precise. Well, here's the first set. The Russians got 3 9s and 6 8s. 3 9s and... There's a 6. There's 2 6s. There's 3 6s. 1, 2, 3 6s. The rest of 5.9s, and that was the technical merit. I think Christopher took a sigh of relief when he saw that. I'm sure I did. 3 6s and 5.9s, and that's the technical merit. Now remember, it was in the second mark that the British judges gave 7 6s. Well now, technically, the steps and the precision were that much better than Bestemianova and Bukin. Now we'll see what they think about the artistic impression. Yes! Oh my goodness! I have never seen that before. 8 6s and 1 5.9. That is the highest set of marks ever given in an international competition. 8 6s out of 9 and 3 in the first set. 11 6s. I remember Rodnina and Zaitsev getting 9 6s, but I have never seen 11 6s before, and never ever 8 out of 9 in one set of marks. The one judge who didn't give it was the Soviet judge. And so a triumphant night for Nottingham's Jayne Torvill and Christopher Dean, receiving the gold medal for ice dancing in this European Championship from Dr. Tertek. He is accompanied by Lawrence Demi, who was the referee, Britain's first ever world champion and Britain's first ever European champion.
Of the organizing committee.
Dr. Tertek presents the medal to Christopher Dean, and that is one of the great triumphs of all time in skating.